The House Committee on Labor will come to order. Will the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Hatzma.
Here.
Representatives Menser.
Here.
Colazar.
Here.
O'Neill.
Present.
Andrews.
Here.
Churches.
Present.
Wagella.
Here.
Wozniak.
Here.
Mueller.
Yep.
Coots.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the October 26, 2023 meeting? Representative Wagella makes that motion. The minutes are adopted. The first bill I'd like to take up is House Bill 4688. We heard testimony on this bill at a prior meeting. This time I'd like to place before the committee an H2 substitute. This substitute limits the bill to employees covered under PA 312. Representative Colazar moves to adopt the H2 substitute. Will the clerk please take the roll?
The motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Hatzma.
Yes.
Representatives Menser.
Yes.
Colazar.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Churches.
Yes.
Wagella.
Yes.
Wozniak.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Coots.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 8 yeas, 1 nay, 1 pass. The substitute is adopted.
This time I'll take a motion to report out H2 version of House Bill 4688. Vice Chair Menser moves to report with recommendation. Will the clerk please take the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Hatzma.
Yes.
Representatives Menser.
Yes.
Colazar.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Churches.
Yes.
Wagella.
Yes.
Wozniak.
Pass.
Mueller.
Pass.
Coots.
No.
Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 1 nay, and 2 passes. HB 4688, fourth recommendation, substitute H2.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Now we're going to take testimony on House Bills 5164 and 5165, sponsored by Representative O'Neill. Joining him to explain the legislation is Charles Daniels from the Communication Workers of America and Angie Miller, President of the Mid-Michigan Area Labor Council. Representative O'Neill, Mr. Daniels, Ms. Miller, welcome.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of this committee.
Good morning.
Thank you for this opportunity to share the information about House Bills 5835, 5836. The first bill limits companies' eligibility for grants and loans if those companies close down their call center in Michigan and send those call centers out of state. The second bill will keep track of those companies by creating a registry. It is important that we find ways to keep jobs in Michigan. When businesses outsource labor for cheaper prices, this damages Michiganders' job opportunities and moves money out of our economy, while businesses continue to reap support through loans and grants. We should not be providing businesses with incentives when doing so, and it's hurting Michigan workforce. A reciprocal nature between business and our state is what helps keeps Michigan strong. It's time that we implement legislation that puts those protections in place for Michigan continued success. There are currently 3 states that have passed similar legislation. These are New York, Alabama, and Mississippi. I'm sorry, did I make the wrong one? Oh. My notes have the wrong numbers on the House bills, so let me correct that. 5164, is that what you have, Mr. Clerk? Okay, 5165. So disregard the 5835, 5836, Mr. Chair and members. With that, we have experts here to entertain any questions regarding these 2 pieces of legislation. Thank you.
Mr. Daniels, Ms. Miller, anything you'd like to add to Representative O'Neill's testimony?
Yes. The call center industry and the Michigan residents who work in it play a vital and irreplaceable role in the state's economy. Call center workers are often known as call center agents, call center representatives, customer service representatives, telephone sales and service representatives, just to name a few. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in May 2022 estimated Michigan had over 65,000 customer service representatives with a median wage of over $40,000. This equates to $2.5 billion that is pumped into Michigan's economy every year. This is money spent at our local restaurants or local businesses, grocery stores. This is money used to maintain our schools. These are jobs Michigan cannot afford to lose. I want to thank the sponsor and co-sponsors of these important bills, and I urge members of this committee to support House Bills 5164 and 5165. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Mr. Daniels.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you very much. Very excited to be here. We've been trying to get in front of you all for a long time to talk about this because we think it's very important. So thank you. We know you're very busy. I have innumerable reasons why I think this is legislation that needs to be passed, but I'd like to focus on three main ones. Number one, when taxpayer money is being used on something, we believe those taxpayers should have a say in how it's being used. And the discussion that we've had with them in regards to centers being closed down and then those companies then offshoring that work and receiving taxpayer dollars, they don't like it, regardless of party affiliation. It's not a partisan issue. They don't like it. Republicans and Democrats, they're totally against it. They don't like offshoring. So that's number one. Number two, your information is just safer in one of our call centers. I'll give you two quick examples. In 2017, Equifax had a security breach where 140 million Americans' personal information, sensitive personal information, was breached by hackers. That's just one. And the second, in 2016, an Indian call center, there's a Department of Justice indictment on an Indian call center where 15,000 Americans were scammed out of their hard-earned money. Over hundreds of millions of dollars were taken. When you're dealing with those centers, they just don't have the same rules and regulations that we have here to protect our personal private information. And number three, because we strongly believe that morality does not end at the shores of America. These centers that are in foreign countries have horrible labor histories. Just this year, Alex De La Rosa, who is a call center worker in the Philippines, was brutally murdered. He was stabbed to death over 30 times. We believe it's incumbent on us as people of good character to make sure that we protect those workers by protecting the jobs here and making sure that it's not going to places where they're being exploited. I thank you for your time. I look forward to any questions that you may have. If we do not have the answers, I pre-apologize for that. We will get them back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Representative Andrews.
Thank you, Chair. Do you have any numbers or statistics on how many people have been impacted by these closures so far? How many jobs have been shipped away?
That's a great question. No, we don't have the exact numbers on it because it's very difficult to discern those numbers because we don't have this registry in place. If we did, we could look to it very easily and see. I'll say that AT&T is the one that I'm most familiar with. Since 2011, nationwide, AT&T has closed over 45 call centers. Over 16,000 jobs have been lost. In Michigan, you're looking in 2019, a Kalamazoo call center. In 2018, a Detroit call center. In 2016, a call center in Macomb. In 2014, a call center in Lansing. In 2013, a call center in Flint. That's just in the past couple of years. That's why we're so fervent on this legislation, that the clock is ticking on these call center workers. And as someone who is a local president lost a call center, I take this very personal. These are real people with real jobs at communities that need them, and we need to protect them.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Representative Mueller.
Thank you. Are you just saying, is it going to stay in Michigan or out, like in the United States? Because if it's in the United States, I'm okay with, outsourcing to, it's a free market. But if you're going out of the country, that, what does this do? Explain it. Is it just for the United States or out of the country?
Thank you, Representative Mueller. That's a great question, right? This only pertains to companies that have 50 or more employees, so not smaller companies, 50 or more employees, and they're sending the jobs out of the country, not just out of the state, out of the country to a foreign entity somewhere else. If they're sending it to Ohio or Texas or anywhere like that, it does not impact them in any way. You're welcome.
Representative Wozniak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to, say, foreign companies that don't exist in Michigan but move a branch in here or anything, does this affect them as far as call centers? If their headquarters is based someplace else.
Yes. Thank you, Representative Wozniak. It's good to see you again. Yes, if you are operating in Michigan and that's where your base of that's where the actual physical call center is, it would absolutely impact them.
Okay, but I'm saying they're already established, say, overseas or in another state. Would they have to do anything?
I don't know if I understand the question.
They're going to open a branch in Michigan. Say like, but some of the EV battery makers are coming into the state. Would they be required under this law to do something?
To bring the work to Michigan, they would not be required to do anything. If they established a call center in Michigan and then were going to move those jobs out to a foreign country, they would be required.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Wagella.
First off, thank you for bringing this legislation. I think it's really important that we ensure that jobs stay in Michigan, and also, ensuring that when incentives are going to companies, they are not then turning and moving those jobs somewhere else. I just was thinking about this. I don't even know where it would begin, but I think it's something maybe we could look into. Is what about jobs that use AI software for call centers? Is maybe looking into something in the future to where we're not incentivizing companies who are actively taking away worker jobs. Just something I was thinking about. I don't know if that's something that's been discussed, but I think it would be something worthy of investigating.
Thank you for that feedback.
Representative Mueller.
Again, sorry, but what about the countries that we have agreements with, like Canada and Mexico and things like that, where we have trade agreements with? I mean, if we limited it to some of these other countries that might not be our allies, and they have been deemed by the Department of State as maybe not places safe for Americans to travel, why would we outsource it to them? I mean, I'd be okay with not doing it if we could limit it to the people that we get along with and stuff like that. I mean, because it is kind of a open market thing, like trying to outsource your things to make money. So maybe we could narrow it down a little bit, you think?
Yes, I mean, this is obviously something that there needs to be good discussion on with the USMCA passing recently and the changes to NAFTA that went along with that. I think there's definitely conversations that need to be had in regards to do those corporations can run their business any way that they want to, right? All we're saying is that when taxpayer money is involved, those taxpayers should have a say in it. And I guarantee that if we went into anyone's area here and talked to them and just asked them, are you okay with offshoring work? They will say no. If we ask them, if a call center is here and it's closed down and they move that to a foreign country, whether it's Mexico, Canada, the Philippines, Jamaica, the Netherlands, I guarantee you their response will be no. And I believe that we're here to serve the will of those people.
Thank you, Representative Churches.
Thank you. I don't really have anything. I'm just curious about something. It's not exactly to the bill, but you seem very passionate about this. And I just wondered I always wonder why people become politicians, why people are here, what are the inspirations for bills. So if you had to pinpoint it, where does your passion for this legislation come from? And what do you think us coming together around an initiative such as this is going to do for people?
Well, thank you, Representative Churches, for those kind words. I'd appreciate it. I'm sure you have an answer to give on this as well. Look, I'm just a dumb phone tech, all right? I was 22 years. I worked outside with my hands. I got the scars to prove it. But I was also a local president. And while I was a local president, my call center in Kalamazoo got closed down in 2019. And 73 people, I was the last one that they talked to. And I couldn't help them. We had tried for years to get this legislation passed. I don't know if it would have worked. But I spent the next 4 years in the U.S. Court of International Trade fighting with the Department of Labor to try to get them TAA, Trade Adjustment Agreement assistance, for that closure. And eventually, it ran out. TAA, which had existed for over 40 years, expired this year because there's a lot of talk about helping our workers and preserving those jobs. But when it comes time to action, there's very little. It's cricket. So for me, that's where that frustration comes from. And I just can't watch any more of these centers be closed down. It is extremely personal. Right now, we have one in Southfield and we have one in Saginaw. And I just cannot continue to fail these people. They're good people and they deserve better.
Representative Wagella.
So I feel like there's been some interesting confusion about this bill during this discussion, but just for understanding, for clarification, this bill is not talking about tariffs, right? It's not putting a tax on these institutions, which would probably be a violation of NAFTA. What it is talking about, though, is not subsidizing or incentivizing businesses in Michigan who are offshoring their jobs. Is that the correct understanding?
That's correct. Now, if a call center does not report that they are transferring jobs out of the country, then there is a penalty up to $10,000.
Thank you, Representative O'Neill. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Thank you to Mr. Daniels. We have cards in relation to this set of bills. Tina Culver from Communication Workers of America doesn't wish to speak but supports. Wendy Block from the Michigan Chamber doesn't wish to speak but opposes and directs us to a memo she submitted. And Andrew Kozicki from Communication Workers of America doesn't wish to speak and supports the bill. To try to get everything in on time, I didn't earlier read these cards in relation to House Bill 4688. I will now. Not wishing to speak, opposing the bill in relation to 4688 H1 is Mike Batterby from the Michigan Townships Association. Not wishing to speak and opposing 4688 H1 is Angela Elsey of the Michigan Communication Directors Association. Not wishing to speak and opposing the bill is Matt Saxton from the Michigan Sheriff's Association. That's H1 as well. In relation to House Bill 4688 H2, not wishing to speak and opposing the bill is Dan O'Leary, Deputy Supervisor of Clinton Charter Township. And then in relation to 4688 in general, Dave Hodgkins from the Michigan Municipal League did not wish to speak. He spoke earlier when we had testimony, opposes the bill. Joni Harvey doesn't wish to speak, opposes the bill as written. She is with the State 911 Committee and opposing 4688, not wishing to speak, but available for questions is Samantha Gibson from the Michigan Association of Counties. There being no further business before this committee, we stand adjourned.